Hello, BIO178. Welcome to our Week 8 lab associated with our genomics and transcriptomics lecture. And in full transparency, this is not actually the lab that I originally intended for us to do this week. So I had been setting us up in the past with our genetic diversity lab so in that lab what we did is we identified some loci that were out of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. What I had intended for us to do was to use that same data set and identify outliers in that data set that are indicative of selection happening on those particular loci that could be involved in adaptation to different environmental conditions. So that's what I had intended for us to do, and I was setting us up to do that. However, the software program that I used during my dissertation to identify outliers does not exist anymore, which I just found out recently. And so I did some research and I found that there is an R package that does a similar type of analysis. However, I tried for several hours yesterday to get that to work and I could not. So I'm telling you this story for a couple of reasons. First of all, I know that some of you have said in previous R labs you had trouble getting it to work. So I want to let you know that I absolutely empathize with you. I spent hours yesterday and I was not very happy. I couldn't get R to do what I wanted it to do. The other reason I'm telling you this is I talk a lot in our class about grit and persistence and perseverance, and I think absolutely that's important, but I think it's also really important for us to know ourselves and to recognize where our edge is. So what I mean by that is, in this class, I expect you to put effort into our labs. Those labs should only take you 3 hours though. I try to say that very explicitly. I don't want you spending a bunch of extra time on those labs. If you know that you are putting in genuine effort to get things to work, and for whatever reason it's just not working, please know that I trust you and I trust that you have put in genuine effort, and if you still can't get it to work, that's okay. If you've reached your edge and you're super frustrated like I was yesterday, I will honor that, I promise. So just know if that happens in the future, recognize for yourself that okay, maybe I've reached my edge and I can't do this anymore at this current moment. I know that I can figure out this R package if I keep trying. I can eventually do it, but right now it's not the time. Right now I know that I need to let it go because I have other things that we need to do here in our class. And so that's what I did. And so what I did instead is come up with this other new lab, which is also actually very cool. So it's a different data set that we haven't worked with yet, but it's still data from my lab. It's actually very new data that I just recorded a conference talk this morning about. So it's hot off the press. It hasn't been published yet. But what this data set is we'll be looking at gene expression data from different intertidal mussels, Mytilus californianus, and we'll be using RNA sequencing transcriptome data to produce a principal component analysis, PCA, which is a nice way to give us a broad overview, taking into account these thousands of genes and the expression levels for all of them, individuals from these different sites might be similar or different from each other. So that's what we're doing for this lab. That's the whole backstory, so now you know the whole story, but I think it's important to be honest and transparent with you so you know that I'm human, and I can also share with you that if you're having difficulties, I understand that, and I trust you to know when you've tried your best and for whatever reason it's just not working. So again, all that to say, this lab still is really interesting. It's still really cool, and I hope you will enjoy it. And go ahead and watch the other tutorial videos I have and read the written instructions to proceed with this week's lab activity.